Good evening and welcome to the Thursday, May 12th, 2022 regular meeting of the school committee. We have just returned from executive session and we are ready to call the meeting to order. If people would like to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Thank you. So we will jump right in. We have no public here in the studio, so we will not have a public comment right now, but do we have recognitions tonight?
I don't think I have any recognitions tonight.
I have a recognition.
Okay.
I would like to recognize you, Nancy, for your work this year as chair. I think this is your last of this cycle. And having sat in the chair last year, I know a little bit about how challenging it is, and you have been phenomenal. I know that there are days that from the moment your kids went to school until 11 or 12 o'clock at night, you were answering emails. I know that you were involved in negotiating, I think, 5 contracts. Four contracts this year. The number of hours that you have dedicated, both required and then just because you are so committed and you want to respond to everyone individually, and it's just unbelievable. And so you do that work selflessly on behalf of the community, but also on behalf of the committee, because you organize, all of the work that we do is administered by you. So
Thank you.
thank you so much. You did a phenomenal job this year, as always.
Thank you.
But it was just a difficult year, and so we really we needed your experience and your calm, steady leadership.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes.
That brings us into reports. We're going to hold on the student council report and move that down a little bit further, but that could move us into the superintendent's report.
Okay, so this is the superintendent's report for May 12th, 2022. Exciting news that Hopkinton Middle School now has its school store open for business. Mrs. Lockwood's class, her students, as well as some student council students, are in charge of the store. The store is open on Tuesdays and Fridays during school lunches. And the very cool thing about it is if you can sort of look behind the kids in that picture, the store is sort of just a moving unit, and it can go with them, and it opens and closes, and it's on wheels, and it's pretty fabulous.
Oh, cool.
That's awesome.
I wanted to share this with you just to keep it on your radar. We've been talking a lot about the integrated preschool. And so I met with Mrs. DeBow yesterday on Wednesday, and at that time she shared with me that we currently have 101 students who are in our integrated preschool, and that's for next year. So as we go into the summertime, we can take up to 105 students before we're technically out of compliance, and that's even with our 6th pre-K classroom. So that leaves us 4 spots to fill. So we're just going to kind of keep an eye on that and see where things go, but you really never know when a student with special needs is going to move into the district or when someone is going to turn 3 and qualify. Sometimes with early intervention, they can give you a little bit of a heads up because they'll let you know that there's a child who needs a meeting and to see if he qualifies, and you have a little bit of time. But realistically, there could be students that we are entirely unaware of. There's no way to really plan or predict with integrated preschool.
Sorry, the compliance is related to the balance of students who are typical learners and those who are receiving
That is
services.
correct. We can have 15 students in a classroom with 1 FTE teacher.
Yeah.
And, the number of paraprofessionals that you need, obviously, for whatever the students' IEPs warrant. But you're allowed to put 7 students on IEPs and 8 typical peers.
So we don't have a lot of space at Marathon right now. And if we need to add a classroom, I'm guessing, what is the solution to that?
We have not identified the solution just yet.
Okay.
There will obviously need to be one, but we don't know what that is. You know that there are some office spaces in there that are pretty large. So if you had to, you could turn those into classrooms. But we really are in a position now where, the space is super tight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, COVID case counts, I apologize, those numbers are a lot smaller than I anticipated they would be. But we sent something home to families today so that they are aware that our case counts, not unlike all of the other school districts in Massachusetts. There's been a great uptick at Marathon. We have 19 students and 6 staff. Elmwood, 6 students and 1 staff. Hopkins had 64 students and 6 staff. The middle school, 35 students and 5 staff. And at the high school, 54 students and 8 staff. So as you're looking at those numbers, you can imagine that there are repercussions because of those numbers. So what we've seen is that, MCAS testing for a lot of those students had to be rescheduled. At the middle school, I think we've had to do 80 rescheduling of MCAS tests, close to 30 at Elmwood. I know Mrs. Bolello has math MCAS coming up next week over at Hopkins. Mr. Bishop has had to move 84 AP tests. And so that's just, some of the numbers that I can tell you off the top of my head. But another problem for, especially at our elementary schools and at the middle school, because we don't really have that same luxury that we have at the high school where we can put our kids together. And when we put the kids together, they can be, 1 or 2 monitors in the cafeteria. But we really, when our faculty go out, we are struggling to put substitutes in there. So if there's a classroom or 2 or 3 or 4 that don't have teachers for them, and you can see the number of staff, for example, Hopkins in that week between May 4th and May 11th, had 6 staff out. If you can't find 6 substitutes, you're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul and moving people, as cleverly, I think, as you can, just to ensure that kids have who they need in the classroom to ensure teaching and learning are continuing. But it's been very challenging.
So just as a, off the top of your head question, if you can answer it, if we have 8 staff at the high school out, how many class sessions does that really affect?
If those were all teachers, people who teach 5 periods a day, because that's what the teacher contract says. So if you had 8 of them and there are 5 periods a day, that's 40 classes. So, you as a student, Leah, may not have any interruption to your day. Your teachers might all be there. I mean, I might be a person who has 2 or 3 of those teachers. So there's no real rhyme or reason to it, except to say that that it is disruptive.
Thank you.
I don't know if our resident expert can talk to what happens when the teachers are out at the high school.
Yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of teachers out and a lot of students. A lot of my teachers have been talking about how they're especially the younger grades, I think, have been just completely wiped out and they only have 6 kids in class. So I think even when it's not necessarily teacher out, it still affects learning too. If there are only 5 of your peers there in that class, obviously it's different.
A lot of study halls happening.
Lots of study halls happening.
Dr. Kevin, I know at the high school we had prom and some other events. I'm sort of not totally surprised by the numbers, but do we know anything about the 64 at Hopkins?
I would probably have to do a little bit more research on that, but I do think that, there's been in-school transfer there for sure, transmission of the virus for sure, yeah. All right, science fair. This came to us just today, so this is great. This is from Kristen Murphy-Baldigo. She is telling us that 11 Hopkinton High School teams competed at the virtual Massachusetts Science and Engineering Fair, and 10 of our high school teams earned a prize at the state competition. And one of the things that she wants us to be looking for is our 9th grade class. We've got a really strong group of 9th graders that have done some pretty amazing things. I will read the names of the kids, and maybe I will just... So one of our second place prizes, just so you can see maybe the incredible depth of the research that they're doing, B vitamin overconsumption on diet-induced obesity in Danio, parenthetically noted, zebrafish. So this is the kind of work that they're doing. It's just amazing what our kids are doing and following these projects to completion. And when things don't go so well, all of your cells die or whatever, they just come back at it and start all over again. So the engineering process and the science processes are alive and well, and it's just really impressive. So we have Ishi Karana, Simram Kaur, Shrija Kumar, Garima Chauhan, Eva and Isha Bennett, Ivanya Mather, Shri Lakshmi Ben Katisan, Dylan Streak, David Prefer, Neil Abraham, Brian Gu, Bharat Makala, Aaron Upalecker, Kaiser Rangwala, Alex Stefan, and Sahil Manocha, and Sahithi Pagula. So all of those students have either a second place, third place, or an honorable mention at the State Science Fair. So very impressive.
Their projects always blow me away. It really, I don't even understand some of them, so.
No, I don't either.
Neither do I.
Yeah, some of the actual words in here, I think, I don't know what that is.
I know.
So, yeah. And that's all I have for you.
We jumped in on a couple questions as we went along.
Yes, that's perfectly good. All right.
Anybody? Okay. Want to go into your report? All right.
Hi everyone, I'm Jessie Ainelli. I'm a senior at Hopkins High School. It's definitely been an exciting time at the high school as the year is starting to wrap up. AP exams have been in full swing these past 2 weeks and are just about finishing up now, so I know a lot of students are very glad to have those in the past. We had a great junior prom 2 weeks ago and are ready to do it all again tomorrow for our senior prom. We also have a ton of fun senior events coming up, a lot of which weren't able to happen these past 2 years, so definitely very fortunate for those. The class of 2022 is very lucky to have their Red Sox game, boat cruise, Gillette dinner, recognition night, car parade, and of course graduation on June 3rd. We also have our senior transition day coming up on May 20th, and the school has actually partnered with the Mental Health Collaborative to deliver their programs focusing on maintaining mental health during times of transition, such as graduating high school and entering that next stage of your life. So I think that'll be very helpful to students. Our art department is hosting their annual Night for the Arts with an opening ceremony on Thursday, May 19th at 6 o'clock, and pieces from every school will be showcased, and you can also catch some performances from the One Act Play Festival as well. And finally, the nice weather has been great for many of our spring sports teams, who are about halfway through their seasons now. Boys baseball had a great win yesterday for their senior night, and girls lacrosse had a great showing from youth players and a lot of little laxers for their youth night yesterday as well. And that's all I have.
That's awesome.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
I was thinking when you first started talking, you won't be able to say much longer that you're a senior.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. It's sad.
We're gonna miss having you.
I'm gonna miss coming too. I'll be sure to log in from my dorm on HCAM and watch meetings next year.
You're logging in from your dorm.
I know that might be a
Sending
little.
you some messages. Go do something else.
Yeah.
And transition day, is that the day when occasionally alums come back and talk to the graduating seniors as
I'm
well?
not entirely sure what they've done in the past. I know, just from my personal experience, my sister's year, obviously she was class of 2020, so very different, but I know they had a bunch of videos of how to change a tire and that kind of stuff, that life stuff. And we did have a transition day in the fall where it was financial literacy and stuff like that, which was pretty helpful too. So I'm not entirely sure if it's just the Mental Health Collaborative program this year, or there's stuff like that coupled in too.
Nice.
That's great.
That's great.
Financial literacy came up at a couple weeks ago when we were doing the
Yes.
Know Your Vote. Yeah. So great. Thank you. So that brings me into the school committee chair report, and I have a couple things. One is payroll warrants S22023 and S2223A have been approved, all in the packet. I also just want to recognize that, as you very kindly said, it is the last meeting of this iteration of the school committee. We have a town election on Monday, and we will almost certainly, because there are a bunch of people running, go from this committee will go from a committee of 3 to a committee of 5. But I want to recognize just that the three of us have really worked well as a team this past couple months as a committee that should have been 5, but was 3, in picking up the slack that, different things that needed to be met. We did hold off on some of our policies till we could have a full committee do it, but I just want to thank you guys for your teamwork in all of that. And then just for people who are at home, in terms of kind of what happens transition-wise, after the election, if the chair no longer is on the committee because did not win the election, the vice chair steps into that position until the committee reorganizes the reorganization meeting is on May 26th, and at that time, the 5 current committee members at that time will choose a new chair and vice chair. So that just for people at home to understand the process.
Wasn't my understanding that that meeting is actually chaired by Dr. Kavanaugh?
That-
because technically we don't have a chair or vice chair?
Yes, that is
starts
correct,
that way.
except that it starts that way. But in the meantime, if things come up
I see.
after the election, if things came up and I was no longer on the committee, Amanda would step
I see.
into the
Okay.
position as chair.
That's what I was
You are
trying
right.
to
She will
understand.
chair the reorg meeting itself. Okay,
It's usually only for about 5 minutes. And then I hand the job back.
it's a good 5 minutes. Does anybody have any liaison reports?
Only that, we're proceeding with the Pride Parade, and they're looking for volunteers, and it's super exciting. It looks like everything's a go.
Excellent.
I have that. I don't think I have anything else.
Awesome. We do have Hop 101 on Saturday. If people are able to come, there will be a table for the school committee and the superintendent's office together on the town common. It's from 9 until noon, so that's,
Oh, it'll be on the common this
it
year.
is on the common this year.
nice.
They were trying to, I think, keep it outside with all the concerns that some people have over COVID, so. Okay, that brings us into new business, item A. That I'm guessing is actually Mr. Ocampo. Is that,
Yes.
welcome. It's so nice to see you. And
Yes,
I
Thank you
have
so much.
just also have to recognize you've done so much great work in the community recently with the Empathy Project and running the marathon for the Freedom Team.
Yes.
Really, just want to thank you for
Thank you
everything
so
you've been
much.
doing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Pleasure's all mine. It was 2 certainly fantastic organizations that I felt like I needed to support in the community, and so that was my my feeling of wanting to be a part of it. So pleasure's all mine. So thank you.
So welcome and thank you on the Nature's Classroom piece.
Thank you. So I am here just on behalf of Mr. Keller seeking approval for our upcoming Nature's Classroom field trips. So as you recall, Mr. Keller came, I believe it was on February 3rd, the February 3rd school committee meeting, and received initial approval for the trips. And so I'm here seeking the final approval. So as we're switching sites this year, we'll be moving from Charlton, Massachusetts to Freedom, New Hampshire. And we're having to structure this trip a little bit differently because the Freedom site can accommodate, could not accommodate more than 300 individuals. And as such, there are 2 trips for both grades 6 and grade 7. Grade 7, half of our grade 7 students will attend on Monday, October 17th to Wednesday, October 19th. And the other half of grade 6 will attend on Wednesday, October 19th through Friday, October 21st. For our grade 6 students, half of our grade 6 students will attend Monday, November 14th to Wednesday, November 16th. And the other half of grade 6 will attend Wednesday, November 16th through Friday, November 18th. A lot of dates that I just threw out there, so I apologize. But as you will see, both of these trips, there will be transitioning on the Wednesday, so midweek. So because we have 2 groups kind of going back and forth from the sites, one group will be having lunch on Wednesday, while the other group will be packing up their things and traveling to Freedom, while the other group is finishing lunch and departing back to Hopkinton. And so they'll begin their 3-day, 2-night field trip. And the cost to families for the field trip will be $305 per student. And this includes accommodations for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, as well as transportation.
Okay. Any questions?
Can I ask,
Yes.
I don't know if you know this or not, but can you talk about the rationale for moving to New Hampshire?
Sure. The main reason is the accommodations of numbers. Because we've had just an influx of numbers over the years, an increase of numbers over the years, the new site is able to accommodate a larger scale of kids. And with COVID, the other site changed a lot of their accommodations, and so because of those accommodations, we weren't able to really work with them, and so we sought other sites.
So, question on how it's divided, because there are 3 teams in each of the middle of those 2 grades.
Yep.
So one team is going to be, is one team going to be split, I guess would be.
So that's still in the works.
Okay.
And that's something we're still toying around with. We toyed around with the idea of splitting one of the teams and then bringing one for the first half of the week and then the other half for the second half of the week. We also toyed around with the idea of roughly having 50 students per team and dividing it that way. We're still in the works of what that looks like. What we tend to do with students and wanting to make sure that they have friends at least that go up there is we provide them a note card and we say, please write down your top friends that you want to be able to go up there with. And we certainly try our best to make sure that they have as many of their friends as they can go up there with. However, obviously with the balance, the figuring out how that works is a tough task. But we at least have at least one of their friends be able to go with them. And so that's certainly still something that we're trying to figure out.
The logistics are, in my head, I was thinking that that's a complicated thing, and I'm sure you guys will do an excellent job of it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
The other thing I just wanted to touch on is I know in the past the middle school and other schools that have had large field trips have been able to connect with community organizations to make sure that no kid is left unable to go because of financial hardship. Mm-hmm. Is that, I would assume?
That's certainly something that we're still looking at, and we will definitely incorporate that. We've been working with our guidance counselors as well to help identify maybe some of those families or students that may need support with either financially or whether it's making sure they have enough supplies to be able to go and pack a bag for them for the few days. And so that is definitely something that we are still incorporating.
Okay.
And in the past couple years, obviously with all the changes, Nature's Classroom has had policies that allowed us to not lose deposits and things. Does the new site, because do I remember correctly that the sites were under Nature's Classroom, but they weren't?
So one of the sites, I think this year, I think the current 6th graders were supposed to go out to Charlton this year, and the current 7th graders were supposed to go to Freedom. Is that?
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay, that's what I was remembering then. So I'm just wondering, do they still have, the cancellation policies and everything in place?
They do. And do you mean putting deposits in and then?
Being able to retrieve
the money.
Something were to happen.
Yeah, that is a good question. That is, I feel like that's something that I want to defer to Ann Bennick, who's been organizing, being the main person that's been organizing this whole field trip, and that's certainly something I can find out. But I apologize, I don't have the answer to that right now.
Okay. It was more a curiosity question.
So does somebody feel like they would like to make a motion on the first one, which is the grade 7 trip?
Sure. I will make a motion. Roll up. I think there is a motion in the packet.
There is.
I would make a motion to approve the grade 7 Nature's Classroom trips to New Hampshire on October 17th to 19th, 2022, and October 19th to 21, 2022.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And it's unanimous, and so passes. Thank you on that one. And then the grade 6 one.
I'll just keep motioning. I will move to approve the grade 6 Nature's Classroom trips to New Hampshire on November 14th to 16th, 2022, and November 16th to 18th, 2022.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Also unanimous, and I hope that those trips go very well for the kids. I know it's a highlight for many of the grades past that have been able to do it. I know it's been a strange couple of years where they haven't been able to.
Definitely. Thank you. And, I think I want to thank you probably on behalf of our students as well. I'm sure that they are going to love this trip. And I remember going to this trip when I was younger and having very fond memories of it. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming. It's nice
Of
to
course.
see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too. I'll hope to see you too soon too as well.
Great.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Good night, Chris.
that moves us into item C, which is the varsity assistant coaches, and that is you, Dr. Kavanaugh.
So you do have a memo from our athletic director, Mr. Cormier, in your packet. Currently we have 13 varsity teams that have paid assistant coaches, and we have 16 that do not have paid assistant coaches. So what those 16 teams have been doing historically is relying on volunteer coaches. And so we say volunteer, but sometimes those folks are paid, and they are paid, through the boosters or through fundraising, and it just doesn't feel like it's an equitable situation. And so we have not technically negotiated this yet with the Hopkinton Teachers Association, but in the time between now and when we are able to do that, what Mr. Cormier is asking is that we are able to pay those no longer volunteer coaches at the amount of $2,000 per stipend. This is, he in his memo says that the funding will come from athletic revolving. And we just want to also point out that if we cannot find a suitable candidate, we wouldn't hire for that position. Or if there's a small roster and we don't need an assistant, we wouldn't hire for that position. But this gives us the opportunity to hire as necessary for the 16 varsity programs that don't have assistants paid right now. And the last thing that I'll say is it kind of does open the district up for liability if you're using a volunteer. Because, in the event that, something happens, that's not technically our employee. And so that's not a good place to have our district in, so.
Can I ask a question about the stipend amount?
Yes.
So, and how the timing will work between if this passes tonight and the point at which we negotiate. So, the stipend is set for $2,000, which, I think is a little bit off from where our other assistant coaches are paid. But if we were to negotiate with the HTA, say over the summer or in the fall, would it take effect next school year? Will this, whatever we pass tonight, will this hold for the whole school year next year, and then we pick up with the newly negotiated? Or
This should hold for 22-23.
okay.
But not for this year, we're not looking to pay anybody
That
in
is
these roles
correct.
right now.
Yeah.
That was my
Correct.
assumption,
Yeah.
yes. Okay.
Well, I really appreciate Mr. Cormier bringing this forward because I think it is very challenging. I mean, I have coached. I've also had kids who've played sports. I think it's very challenging to be alone in charge of a large squad under the best of circumstances. And I think in that there's the equity piece, just making sure that all of our teams are equally staffed, regardless of how popular the sport is or who's playing it. So I like that piece. But I also just like the student oversight and the fact that our adults will have each other to co-lead. I think that makes a big difference in the quality of what they're able to do, and I think it's probably long overdue. So I appreciate it coming forward. I don't know if you're an athlete, so I don't know if you have any thoughts on.
No, definitely. I think assistant coaches are a big part of teams and can provide a lot, just like a fresh pair of eyes or just another set of insight, or even just like splitting up practices and taking the defense versus the offense. I think they're a very big critical role, and I do agree that it would definitely be better to have them funded like this rather than relying on fundraising and the players to try to raise the money because it is an awkward position.
Yeah, awkward for the kids too.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd love to make a motion.
I was thinking you would.
All right, I'm just gonna read it right. So hold on. I would like to move to approve additional paid assistant coaches for 16 varsity programs that do not currently have paid assistant coaches.
I second.
Okay, so a motion by Amanda, a second by Leah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous and passes as well. That brings us into the Annette Joyce Floor Memorial Scholarship.
Okay, so the estate of Annette Joyce Floor has bequeathed $20,000 to Hopkinton High School, and that money, at least this year, the amount of the scholarship would be $500. The graduating senior, who would be a recipient of the scholarship, would need to be planning a career in medicine, medical research, veterinary medicine, teaching, social work, ecology, or a career to save animals. And then what they are sort of asking is that if the person upon graduation from college is in any position to pay it forward. That would be just a request made. Obviously, you can't hold someone to it, but I thought that was kind of a lovely aspect of this scholarship. So we are looking for you to accept that and establish the scholarship in the amount this year of $500.
That sounds wonderful.
Beautiful.
Yep.
I love when we have happy.
Yes, that's a happy one.
Yeah.
Okay. I move to authorize payment of Annette Joyce Floor Memorial Scholarship in the amount of $500.
Second.
Okay, so a motion by Leah and a second by Amanda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous and so carries. And just, I wonder, is that a former student of ours that is the memorial, or somebody perhaps from town? It'd be interesting to know that. Not to put you on the spot, but that would be an interesting piece to come back to.
I love the pay it forward aspect.
I do too. That's really beautiful. Okay, so that brings us into item E, which is the administration vacation carryover.
Okay. Each year, the administrators, we all have very similar contracts, and we get 25 vacation days with the ability to carry over 10 unused days from the previous year. And as has been true in the last couple of years, it's been very difficult, I think, for our administrators to use their vacation days because it's super hard to be out of the building when, you look at the numbers you just saw on that screen, when we have teachers who are out and staffing concerns, and that, even though things have been pretty good since February to now, there were months where we had many, many teachers out of our buildings. And so, our staff, our administrators were in the lunchroom, in the classroom. I mean, right now we have an administrator at Marathon who's a first grade teacher. So all of that has been going on, and it would be very nice if we would be able to take an additional 5 days and carry them over so that this year, instead of carrying 10, if you have 15 unused days, you can carry them into FY23.
We did this last year thinking that the last year had been such a hardship, and we did it just for that 1 year because we felt like this year would be so much better and so much easier and not so much overburden on the administration. I like this because this year did not turn out to be that smooth sailing year that we thought. I know that administrators have not taken vacation because of how much has been going on in each department and each building. And
Yes.
while we can't always give monetarily what we would like because we're constrained by our budget, this seems like something that we could do to show our appreciation for the very hard work and the sacrifices that people who have earned vacation that have not felt able to take it. And I would hope that, I want to knock on wood, but I would hope that the next year is smooth sailing enough so that our administrators not only feel that they can, but they should use those time to recharge and hopefully provide longevity by not burning out
Yes.
from not having vacation time.
I mean, I think they were trying to be the good instructional leaders that they always have been, and COVID officers. And I know that, when we got into those winter months, they were, January, February, they were exhausted.
Yeah.
It was hard. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm sure they appreciate this.
That's what I was thinking. Like, even during the hardest time, I'm all for this, but I would really like to encourage people to take vacation, right? We worry about the mental health of our students. We spend a lot of time, working to help their mental health, to help them have moments of downtime, to learn how to manage all of that. And I feel like our administrators sort of deserve the same thing. They should be taking their mental health breaks, So I feel like I, as a school committee member, just want to put that out there. Like, I encourage them to take their breaks, to know that nobody's going to hold it against them if they need the mental health break. And to hopefully use a lot more of their vacation time moving forward so they don't
Yes.
burn out.
Well said. I agree 1,000%. Really well said. And, I know that you had superintendent's reports that showed our administrators serving lunch and doing all sorts
Yes.
of other tasks simply because there is a labor shortage and we can't get substitutes and cafeteria workers and teachers who are out. So it has been definitely extreme, and I support 100% what both of you said, so I think a motion is in order.
Okay.
So, move to authorize the administrative team to carry over an additional 5 vacation days from fiscal year 22 to fiscal year 23.
I second.
Okay, so motion by Leah and a second by Amanda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is unanimous, and with great thanks to the administration.
Yes.
Thank you.
Passes.
I'm sure they will appreciate it.
So this brings us into part 2 of the superintendent's evaluation. For those people at home, you may have seen either in the local media coverage or perhaps you were able to watch our meeting last week where we did part 1 of the superintendent's evaluation. It's a kind of a unique process in that because of the way the Mass General laws are, all of our evaluation of Dr. Kavanaugh has to take place here in public. So it has all taken place on camera. We have not discussed any of what we did in the evaluation other than what we discussed last week when we went through all of the ratings and verbally discussed the comments. The piece then that I was tasked with was trying to put it into a readable document. I am aware that there were a couple of transcribing errors I made, so I do want to make sure that we correct those and that I have accurately captured your comments in a way that feels like our evaluation is an evaluation of us as a whole. Or by us as a whole, I guess. So
There are a couple of just transcribing errors
Yes.
that I think we would all agree. I want to just call those out so we don't forget.
I picked up one was I had gone down the boxes and I put the X in the wrong box.
Yes, indeed. I wasn't sure. There was professional practice goal.
It-
I think you put it under significant progress.
It was supposed to be, and now I've got to pull it up. That was, when I went back to look it over before tonight, I did realize I had done that.
It was goal 4, grow
Oh,
the
yeah, there it
administrative
is.
team.
Yeah.
I think that I might be able to edit.
I edit, well, so it's not a Google Doc.
I think I'm in Word.
Oh, yeah, I actually already edited that part. I'm also in Word.
Oh, good.
Okay. I edited that because I realized before I came that was a mistake. It was the professional practice goal 4. It should be rated as met. What other pieces just the transcribing piece, because those are easy to fix.
I was trying to remember. Did we have that one as met or exceed? Is that what
That was the one that we had, that is the only one that I had marked that we had done as a whole. I'm going to pull back up it's going to take me a minute to pull. I have that as met on the overall. I can fix that if people feel, if that is not accurate.
I thought we were like across the board. Exceeded and exemplary.
Yeah, I
Okay.
thought that.
Okay, yep.
I'm trying to remember the conversation. I had it as exceeds in my
Okay.
individual submission, but I know that we
Yeah.
did discuss one of them was met, but I just didn't think it was that one.
That
Do
is
you
the
remember?
only one that I have marked as met. The rest I have, and what I'll show you, I had put like X's and O's to denote where the conversation, and this was the only one that I had. The goal is just for people watching from home, move the district toward greater proficiency in diversity, equity, inclusion, social justice, and anti-racism. Continue to grow staff repertoires and explore the curriculum. Address more directly incidents of bias and hate. And my recollection of the conversation was that we felt that the work that Dr. Kavanaugh had done in and of itself really exceeded, but that there was some acknowledgement that there is still a fair amount of work
Yeah,
just where we are.
I think you're absolutely right, but I think that's goal 2. I think
That's what I'm looking at.
Right, I think goal 4 was the one that, or did I have that wrong? I thought goal 4 was the one with the wrong.
Okay, let me pull that out.
I think you're right about goal 2.
The one you sent me has exceeded.
So the one that she sent you, I happen to realize, oh, the one that,
See, this is what I'm looking at.
The one you sent.
Grow the
me, Nancy,
administrative
had
team
exceeded.
is
okay, then
met.
that is transcribing. That, you're right. I'm looking at my own notes from last week, not those should be flipped. The goal 4 should be, and that's what I have from the notes, should be exceeded. And the goal
should
2
be
is the
met.
one that should be met.
And none of them was significant progress.
None of them, they were all either exceeded or in that
Yeah.
one case. So I'm moving, yes, I see that you are, I see I did do that. I'm not sure what made me do that.
It's so
It's
much
goal
to
2.
do. And then, for those watching at home, of course, you would normally just sit around in your living room together and work it
Right.
out, but we can't do that. So we do it here on camera.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just, having that discussion with some friends, like, at work, you have your performance reviews, and they happen in an office in private
Right.
with, one other person
Oh.
in there.
Yeah. Right.
And, the superintendent gracefully goes through evaluation in front of the TV.
I can't even imagine.
So we have exceeds for all the goals except goal 2 we have met.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect. I think that's perfect. I thought the comments were right on. The only other corrective thing, and
Yep.
then we can go back to the top if you want. I think my comments for the indicator 4D, the ones that were put in were from the indicator 3 section, and they were already put in the indicator 3 section, so they were repeated.
Okay, that is a copy paste issue.
Yeah. So you,
All right,
I
so
mean, we
I'm-
have
so
nice
where
comments
did-
there already.
We're looking
That
now.
very last.
this here?
Nope, Dr. Kavanaugh. It starts as Dr. Kavanaugh continues. It's down all the way to the
Oh,
bottom.
that's why I'm looking through.
that
Okay.
paragraph
Yep, that's,
is also at the in.
so I'll
above.
cut it out
It's-
of,
yes.
cut it out of this spot.
Yep, just leave
Leah,
it.
do you see where we're talking?
Yep, there's 2 paragraphs.
The bottom one also appears where I had put it up in the indicator 3. So I had a little different blurb for indicator 4, but it's
Did I?
it's fine what you have. You don't have to.
But
include it.
maybe what I did is when I copy pasted, I copied 3 and thought I had done yours already into there.
That's what I was
Do you,
wondering.
I have yours on my screen here if you want to.
It's just a
help
little.
me.
I didn't write it. I didn't wax poetic on
Well,
indicator
I
4D, but I did have a little paragraph.
Right, 4D. Is this the Dr. Kavanaugh brings her curiosity? That
Yeah.
okay? So I will copy and paste that. This is why it's good to have multiple eyes.
Otherwise, I thought it looked really good.
Yeah, this looks really good.
Oh, wait a minute. All right, and I'm moving that into at
The very
The
end.
very end of 4. I just want to make sure that I've done that. All right, I just want you to take a peek just to make sure. So this is where.
Yep.
Okay.
And above there's 4, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. Are there other places where either I didn't make it flow right? I didn't really have to change a whole lot to make it flow. What I did in some cases was I put a little bit of one person, then another person, then went back and forth like that so that it would be
Yeah.
kind of on topic.
I thought it looked really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And thank you for doing that. It's not easy.
I will say the one piece of this whole process is, as hard as the process is it really, to me, was a great opportunity to reflect on all of the things that have been done. And we've been so publicly focused on, up until a couple months ago and even back tonight on COVID and about masking, not masking, how we're, doing different things related to the pandemic. And all of this work continued, even though it didn't make the headlines, and it really, it was a feel-good process.
Yeah.
So,
I think for me it was partially the opposite. Like, as you move on from certain stages, you forget about what happened during that stage. So when I started to think back to the fall, and I was like, oh my gosh, we had all those protocols in place, we got the exemption, we there was the testing happening. There was, you know, all of this nurse
Right.
work that was occurring. All of it, like it was a
Right.
ton of work. That now that we're not focused on it, it's so easy to just forget about it.
It is, and it's pleasurable to focus on the stuff that we all ran to want to be able to make a
Yeah.
difference on. But the other piece is there was something in here talking about all the numbers of things that had to kind of shift between masking and the trial and then back and forth. Was thinking back, we started this school year in kind of a tight place because DESE hadn't issued their guidelines. We had to grapple with what we wanted to do as a district. And thinking back, that really wasn't that long ago.
Right.
And then kind of finding out from DESE what they were going to do after we had already grappled with the whole thing.
Oh, I remember that. Wow.
Yeah. Is there somebody who feels moved to make a motion?
I don't think the motion is in the.
I
It's
think
not.
the motion I would seek a motion to accept the composite evaluation for Dr. Kavanaugh as amended, as edited here.
So moved.
Second.
So motion by Leah and a second by Amanda. All those in favor?
Aye.
And it is unanimous, and thank you so much for all of your
Thank you.
tremendous
Thank
work.
you.
I know that it's a weird process we do, but I also know that probably what we are able to give you in terms of feedback doesn't even reach the level of what you've actually done this year. So,
Well, thank you. And I know I say it all the time, but there are 24 people on the admin team, and there are 350 teachers, and, 7 nurses and custodians and cafeteria workers and admin assistants, and all of those people who keep our schools going, technology, day in and day out. So I'm very, very grateful to them.
it is a great team.
It is a great
And
team.
Nice to remember all of the great things that have been done this year.
So thank you.
I am looking through 85 different windows that I have open to get back to
Business.
the actual agenda. Do you have your agenda?
Old
We're into
business.
old business.
And then it's items by consensus.
Fabulous. So items by consensus.
Okay. As superintendent, I recommend the school committee approve the items by consensus as outlined in your agenda.
So moved.
Go ahead.
So moved.
Motion by Amanda
Second.
and a second by Leah. All those in favor?
Aye.
And as I
Adjournment.
think we are
How did
looking.
this happen?
You know what? Well, we had, because this agenda had to be made before we really had finished the last meeting, it wasn't clear how much we would have left to do on things like the superintendent's evaluation, so the time was budgeted.
We don't need an excuse.
Okay.
I was just like, wow, shocked.
No, but I do
It's not-
appreciate that you tried to keep
Yes.
some other topics that would really benefit from a full board on the sidelines until we have a full board. I think we have tried, again, your leadership with the agenda. I think we try to do what we have to do and do it well, but if there are things that would really benefit from full representation, we've done that, so thank you for that.
I will say, there are two things that I really missed when we had a full committee. Well, a lot of things, but one of them was being able to plan the agenda with you so that it was able to be a more collaborative process, and just also the ability to talk to one person about something. And now I feel like walking around, we've been very nervous about, not wanting to talk about anything. So.
Yeah.
All right, then I guess I would seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
So a motion by Leah and a second by Amanda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and we are adjourned at 7:49. Thank you very much to everybody for tuning in. Our next meeting will be on May 26th. Have a good night.
Thank you.